Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the show. I'm Sean David, and as always, thanks for tuning in. In the long history of NBA basketball, there are some players who are hated from their playing days even until today. And the most hated guy in NBA history has to be Bill Laimbeer. For me, as a former Chicago Bulls fan who loved the Bulls and Michael Jordan, it was so tough to watch Bill Laimbeer and the Detroit Bad Boy Pistons to beat up Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. But on the other hand, because of that, it was just so satisfying once the Bulls got over the hump. Bill Laimbeer was such a dirty player and such a unique player. I think he's probably the only guy who didn't care about his reputation. And that's why he deserves his own video. So before we start this video though, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And I would say let's start right away.
Did you ever have problems with Laimbeer?
Oh, yeah.
The majority of the players in the NBA, I think, safely can be characterized as kind, warm-hearted, generous types, the kind that you wouldn't mind taking home to your mother. But there are a couple of players around the league who, for one reason or the other, seem to evoke some rather strong reaction from fellow players and fans alike.
Lam, what are your favorite memories of playing against the Bulls, especially in the playoffs?
Oh, besides knocking Michael Jordan down.
Laimbeer has a well-deserved reputation for being a bad guy around the NBA. A guy you'd want on your team, but certainly if you face him, you hate him. He was not only that kind of competitor, but that kind of mentality of never giving an inch, of bending and even breaking the rules if it meant he could get an advantage.
Scotty, how much of a personal thing is there going on between you and Bill Laimbeer?
We don't like each other.
If you don't know too much about Bill Laimbeer, you would think that this guy must have had a tough childhood and must have grown up in a nasty neighborhood. But actually, you couldn't be further away from the truth. That guy really can't complain about his youth.
The neighborhood I grew up in when I first started in Chicago was brand spanking new. I mean, trees were just planted, and it was just their own little neighborhood and their own little school district, and that was the extent of what I knew.
What are you doing, Lam? What are you doing?
It was nice and stable and secure and no hassles. Well, I don't recall ever being in a fight growing up. My dad was president of a large conglomerate, and I never thought about money when I was growing up. My first year in Cleveland, I was drafted. My dad made more money than I did.
Bill Laimbeer played college ball in Notre Dame and had a decent but not great college career. Actually, he had no idea if anybody would be interested in drafting him. But apparently somebody did. In 1979, the Cleveland Cavaliers selected him with the 65th pick in the third round. And what can I say? That was a steal. In his rookie season, he averaged 9.8 points per game as well as 8.6 rebounds while shooting 50% from the field. He definitely proved that he belonged. After 2 years with the Cleveland Cavaliers, he then became a Detroit Bad Boy Piston.
I was at a game in Cleveland, and I kept looking at this big guy, this Laimbeer. They were 20 down, and he still competed the entire game. I said, God, I got to get this guy.
Technical foul has been called on Bill Laimbeer.
Trader Jack got Bill Laimbeer in 1982. He had just as much fire as Isaiah Thomas.
When Bill Laimbeer arrived in Detroit, the bad boy era officially started. The toughest and most feared team in NBA history. Even until today, they're probably one of the most underrated NBA champions of all time because they literally had everything. They had great firepower in Mark Aguirre or Adrian Dantley, Vinny the Microwave Johnson and Isaiah Thomas, one of the best guard defenders of all time in Joe Dumars, a sensational defensive lineup in John Spider-Selly, Dennis Rodman and Rick Mahorn, and everything necessary to be a real champion. You may say now there's nothing wrong with being competitive and tough and rough, but the Bad Boy Pistons really took it to another level. In a physical era, the 1980s, still the Bad Boy Pistons were outstanding in every single way. They literally killed their opponents physically. And the leaders of the team were, of course, Isiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer. Isiah Thomas was the mastermind giving the instructions, and Bill Laimbeer was just kicking butts.
Whenever he gets fouled or pushed or shoved, just light tapping or whatever, he falls down on the floor and starts going, "Hey, ref, he got me."
He's a crybaby. He keeps crying about the fouls get called on him, but he keeps wrestling everybody out of the picture.
Laimbeer dominates the wanted posters in Boston, and he was victim to a vicious massacre in Atlanta.
The fans took a cardboard replica of my jersey and chainsawed it in half during halftime last year during the playoffs. That was a little unique.
Many NBA fans, but also former NBA players, hated Bill Laimbeer because of his whining and complaining. But on the other hand, you also got to give credit where credit is due. I think there's no player in the history of the game that took more beatings than Bill Laimbeer.
Nice play by Darren Day. It doesn't fall. The tip by Parrish. He can't get it to fall, and Parrish takes Laimbeer to the ground with a right forearm.
Find open people. See Sting. And the 24-second clock goes down, and Bird and Laimbeer go at
it.
Rodman with a push on the horn. Laimbeer follows with the ball, and then Barkley and Laimbeer. Barkley gets in the left. Laimbeer will come back with an uppercut. Laimbeer, who's had that mouse under his eye for most of the season, also had a cut. Both benches empty. It went on for 5 minutes. The fans also got involved in it. It was an ugly situation.
The sad thing is, most people seem to forget that Bill Laimbeer could actually hoop. He was one of the first bigs to shoot three-pointers. He was a decent defender, a great rebounder, and a great tactician. He was very important for the Pistons championships, and I'm pretty certain without him they wouldn't have won back-to-back. But because of his huge amount of dirty plays, that really gets forgotten. If you talk to most NBA legends from that era, they got nothing good to say about Bill Laimbeer.
You left the bad blood on the court for the most part, but not with Laimbeer. I never really ever liked Laimbeer in any social situation.
No.
Yeah.
And it's because he was a dirty player.
Right.
He had to do what he had to do, I understand that. But you take like Ricky Mahorn, he'd hit you and all that, but he'd hit you, you know you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
But he didn't try to maim you.
Right.
He'll try to hurt you.
Right.
And, he was one of them guys, you shoot a jumper, he'd try to slide his foot underneath your ankle so you twist your ankle. And that's why Parrish
Did he really used to do that?
If you watch any of our old games, Parrish was always twisting his ankle against the Pistons. So one time I shot a jumper and Laimbeer did it to me, and I stepped on his foot, but I stepped on a high, didn't twist my ankle. I don't know, a quarter or two later, he was shooting that jumper. I slid mine in there. That's the last time he ever did it.
Really?
Yeah.
Now what do you say to Laimbeer that you don't say to Harper? Well, okay, what would some other guy who's not sitting on the couch with me tonight say to Laimbeer that you don't say to Ron Harper?
I mean, you don't want me to say those words.
Oh, okay, maybe not.
But it's in the form of that you didn't appreciate what he just did and meet him outside or do this or do that.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
So he's a tough, hard player that you actually, you get angry at sometimes.
Everybody does. I mean, it's a common thing. If you had 273 professional athletes here, professional basketball player, and you say who's the dirtiest player in the NBA, I say 95% I say Laimbeer or Larry Bird.
Really?
This is Jordan at 1-and-1 now. Rodman won't give an inch. He hits the deck. So does Rodman and Laimbeer, and a foul against Detroit.
Yeah, that guy was special in his own twisted way. I totally understand that former NBA players hated this guy. I mean, if I had to play against him, I also would hate him so much. But on the other hand, as a fan and as a basketball historian, I'm so grateful that this guy was around because, as I mentioned earlier, it was just so much fun once Jordan overcame the Bad Boy Pistons and, of course, also Bill Laimbeer. And let's be honest, it was great to have a guy that everybody could hate. I mean, that is something that is totally missing in today's game. Somebody you just love to hate. And yes, Draymond Green is doing his best, but sorry, still no comparison. Alright you guys, that's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in as always. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I hope to see you next time. Peace, I'm out. Hey you guys, if you're active on Facebook, I can really recommend Open Court. As an NBA fan, you should find everything you need. If it's funny NBA videos, impressive highlights, or even NBA news, I check out Open Court every day.